I am ready for another day of streaming, another day of bit of programming, trying to just situate everything here. Over the holidays, I was really hoping I could build myself a new desk. It didn't happen yet, but I'm every day confronted with the reality that for these streams, I need a new setup because I'm just don't have a lot of desk real estate. All right. Hey, Emerson, how are you? Hope you're doing well today. Let's see here. Do you have good holidays and everything? Let's see. Things sound okay? Kind of assuming they're sounding fine. My setup is ridiculous. That's okay. All right, let me get things all opened up here and get things powered up and going. Mic audio is fine, right? It looks good on my end, but always good to double check, you know? Hey, Naser Chops. Sounds good. Thank you for letting me know. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well today. Oh man, I super need a better webcam setup. I have this list of things I keep saying I need, and then the weekend comes around and I don't want to work on anything, and so then all my needs just go I guess I've never needed them all that badly, huh? Anyway. I hope anyone tuned in right now is doing okay, having a good day. Hope any projects you got going on are working well for you. I am doing my best to get my mind back into the swing of things, you know. The break before the new year and all that kind of just turns my brain to a nice relaxed state, but a pretty mushy state, if I say so myself. But, you know, nothing a little bit of work can't fix. So and that's what I'm here to try and do. I just got to clean up my Emacs windows here and try to get something nice going. Okay. Kill that buffer. Ooh, save it, kill it. Let's sysman quit. All right, things are looking okay here. So today I'm going to be working on my Stylo library. So what this library has been previously, well, and up to right now, is the idea was it was kind of a document building tool. So the original idea was you could write Markdown with some extensions that had Clojure code embedded in, like, inside the document, and Stylo would be able to read in the Markdown, convert it into hiccup syntax, and evaluate the Clojure code and convert that into hiccup syntax as well. So then you have a whole hiccup document that then gets compiled by the hiccup compiler into an HTML page. The original idea was just that. You'd take in some Markdown file with weird extensions, run it through the Stylo program, and get a document out. The idea was, of course, that I would use it to make design docs and documents with a lot of SVG 2D and 3D diagrams. Now that idea is still there, but I'm realizing there's certain elements of the library I built up that are way more useful than other ones. So namely, I don't really use the Markdown parser, nor do I use the idea that I originally had. The things I use most are basically just the SVG handling functions that I built. So if I actually can switch the scene here, there we go. This here, this SVG part and all the code inside all of these subheadings here is basically the useful part. These are sort of incidental elements, which for historical reasons, I want to keep in the stylo library, but what I think would be really fun to do is, for the first time in my development career, I want to make potentially useful MIT licensed open source library that I release on GitHub. And I want to do that, I think, with the SVG stuff here, because I think that could be pretty cool. So that's kind of the idea for the day here. So I think what I'm going to do, because it's the easiest thing to start with, is create a new library that will be the landing spot for this SVG project. That way I can make a new Git repo, excuse me, and all that lovely stuff. I think that's a good idea, and I think that's what I'm going to do. So actually, what I want to do first is commit this to the stylo branch so that I have at least, I've got that, and that's on GitHub too. It doesn't have a license attached, so no one really, I mean, since there's no license, there's nothing indicating what you can and can't, excuse me, can and can't do, so it's kind of useless for everyone except for me. But we're going to change that kind of stuff over time. So all right, so the whole idea is just to get the ball rolling. Pretty simple. Could be pretty fun, I think. Let's go to the scratch buffer then and try my skeleton that I did. Ooh, I need a name for this, which, by the way, is what I was here looking at existing Clojure's libraries. With the name, with the word SVG in it, just to make sure I don't accidentally use an existing name. Processing SVG. So, I mean, a few people have had the same idea, which is fine, but this could be a fun one for me. Actually, see, SVG rendering of charts, that's more specific than what I've got here. Snap SVG. Snap, I think, is specifically for advanced animations, right? Oh, and CLJS.js is its own thing. That's not what I'm thinking about. I think I might want to just go with a simple name akin to what PharrellLM has done with this OpenSCAD library. I reference this a lot because it's simple. I understand this code. I think it's cool, and it seems like a small enough project that makes good decisions about how to design or organize itself and that kind of thing. So scad-clj seems like a pretty good name, simple. So what I might just do is svg-clj. As the name. Let's just search that and see if it exists. svg-core. Let's have a peek in at this. 3 years old, but Clojure code can stay good for a long time. Everything looks good. Been noticing my posture is a little worse than it used to be. I've been leaning forward like this a lot, so I gotta remind myself to sit up straight, you know? Get one of those standing desks, maybe. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the name. Moment of truth here. SVG CLJ. Amazing. My least favorite thing about this name is that here I have to actually change the dash to an underscore for the file names. It's the only thing I don't love, because it just breaks my mental model a little bit. But alas, that's the way it is, and it's not that big a deal. So I think I can pull through. All right. Just like I was saying here, so this scad-clj, if you go source, it's scad underscore clj. You have to do that. You have to replace all the dashes in folder names and file names. But you know, that's just gonna be fine. That's just the way it is. I'm just repeating myself too, unfortunately. Okay, so I put this template into my Scratch buffer. So what I want to do now is save that into a new folder, and we'll save it into svg-clj, like I said, .org, create it, and now if I navigate over to that folder, svg-clj, there on save it does what's called, or like org mode has a mode called Babel, which lets you do something called tangling, which saves any source block here in sequence into the source file that you specify in the tangle. So I saved the new thing into a new folder, and it automatically generated the project folder structure right away from the template, which is pretty cool. It's a really simple thing. It's just built-in Emacs functionality and org mode, but it gives me a nice simple way to do literate programs while maintaining good project structure and not having to be super repetitive. Still things I could tweak, probably make it a lot better. For example, I could have the elisp, read in the template, and given whatever file name I type in, automatically swap out dashes for underscores so that it has the proper file names, but I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, so. One little bit at a time. So, now that I have a little bit of setup here, admin, design, test, and the namespace, I can get to kind of filling in the actual bits of code and going from there. Actually, so before I even do that, let me go to the README. In fact, I kind of think the README should be inside the admin, maybe? I don't know. I'm second guessing myself now, actually. Let's keep it up there. That's not a big deal. SVG CLJ. Well, let's see what's a good thing to write in a README. Let's start with something like that. For creating SVG drawings, files. A simple DSL for SVG Enclosure. Enclosure Clojure/Clojure script. And let's say SVG. I forget where I've looked into all this different stuff. This is, maybe I don't worry too much about this yet. Use Clojure to programmatically create diagrams in SVG. That's not helpful. Man, writing a README is not easy. I'll write it. I'll figure out what is good to add in there. Like, certainly there's stuff I'll have to talk about based on the decisions I made with the design of the library itself. But I'll get there at some other point. Oh, excuse me. This chair's squeakier than I'd like. That's okay though. All right, so the design is SVG CLJ. The library uses hiccup syntax to represent the SVG diagrams being created. SVGs are generated by no. The user writes functional code that what am I even trying to say? This is hard for me to actually put into words appropriately, which normally I'm okay with doing, but I'm having a little trouble today apparently. Let's open up one of the designs that use the SVG stuff as an example, and then I can maybe put together something sensible from there. So if I do design diamond point queen, this was a quilt design that I put together in an org here. So all kinds of crazy figures and stuff like that. But here's the library, or here's an example use of the library. You just write using some of the main transformations and tools. Code to define various elements of the SVG, and has access to transformations via utility functions. Since the library functions emit hiccup data structures, the user can extend and manipulate their data using other Clojure libraries or their own approaches. Yeah, sure, good enough for now. The core, the library has two groups of functions. We've got all right, let's just have a look here. So basically there's the shapes. So those are things that end up being converted into rectangles, circles, ellipses, that kind of thing, and then transforms. And then everything else is utility for those things, basically. That pretty much makes sense, right? So elements. These are things like shapes such as circle, rectangle. Let's be consistent here. Circle, rectangle. What are all the shapes? I don't remember. These ones. Ellipse, line, path, polygon, polyline, rectangle, and rectangle. Shapes. Let's come on. Come on. And then other elements like text and group tags. And maybe in the future, animation, maybe in future. I think that's good for now. And then, so there's the elements thing, which are the shapes primarily. These are utility. Some of this can be deleted, in fact, but that's something I'll get to in a minute. And then transforms. So there's elements, and then there's there's a more general term for it maybe. So transforms, stuff like rotate, translate, scale. Not sure why there's extra lines there. Transforms, translate, rotate, scale. Style is kind of a transform, and then there's and then there are utility type functions as well. So you've got geometric utilities, midpoint, bounds, and then there's what's the other? What am I looking for here? String manip, data manipulation, utilities. That seems fine to me. So bounds and midpoint are examples. They're not really transforms. I put them there because I wasn't thinking too hard about it, because they don't change the data that you put into it. They just compute something from it. So I guess you could call it transforms and computations, but whatever, it's not that big a deal. And then other utility things are string helper type things, that sort of stuff. Oh, and then container / help container elements, SVG, figure, right? And then another one, composites, custom functions, to make some things easy. Custom functions using shapes, example arrow. Okay, good. So that is basically what exists already in this code. I'm just going to start mushing it into into the right spots here. So that's the design approximately. The purpose of this library is to allow users to create simple functional programs that compile to SVG elements. The expected kinds of input are CLJ files with SVG CLJ code. Standard in with SVG CLJ code. The expected output is hiccup style Clojure data structures, and optionally a compiled SVG string to file or standard out. Basically, this is just a library, but I will add a small CLI interface and create a binary distribution so that the library can stand alone as a small utility, perhaps as a useful tool in a bash scripting pipeline. Let's not put that in parens, let's just leave it like that. There we go, simple. Okay, that is the design. Intent and structure, I guess. I mean, it's not the greatest prose in the world, but it's kind of clear. And so the idea, one of the reasons I want to do this in an org file like this is so that I can export it to HTML and then have that HTML be the like the landing page or an element of the documentation for the library. Not the whole documentation necessarily, but as part of it anyway. At the very least, I could put it on my blog, and that would be pretty cool. All right, but enough of that. Because I forgot to do this earlier, I'd like to check the dependencies I have. So for sure, Clojure script seems fine. Although arguably I don't need to pull in Clojure script as a dependency. I don't think. I actually don't know how that works. If I am writing code that works in either context, do I actually have to import Clojure script? I'm not sure. Let's look at instaparse. GitHub. That's what I'm looking for. So this is so Engelberg has some amazing libraries, a great developer. That's why I go to some of his work to just see what a good developer would do when they're making a library. So all I'm trying to look for here is this to see what kind of depths they have approximately. So here, their base dependencies are just Clojure 110. But the dev dependencies, he does pull in Clojure script and tools trace, which I'm not going to worry about everything, but we also, for different release versions, there's different, I see. So Clojure script is in fact a dependency. So I'm going to assume that I probably need that. I mean, I can always change that stuff later, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. I will need to put in a bunch of build stuff later. Yet again, another thing to worry about once the code's in place. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I don't know that I'll necessarily need test check and spec alpha, but I'll leave them in because it might be a good idea to do some generative testing for some of the weirder bits of functionality, especially around rotation of group elements. But I'm getting ahead of myself there too. So I'm going to leave those in as dependencies. Now, let me have a look at the dependencies of this and get to it. So I'm skipping around a little bit. Sorry for anyone who doesn't understand what's going on in my brain. Sometimes I don't either. Clojure.test refer def test and is. I think that works as the test branch, but I'm actually going to do the same here. Clojure.test refer. Can I do as test refer def test is? I think I can do that. Let's pop the REPL open and try that anyway. hopping around in my own brain a little bit too much, maybe. Close that. Let's make this. Okay, now this one will be, where is that other REPL? Here we go. Maybe skipped over it already. Oop. All right, so just if anyone's having any trouble following what I'm working on here, this library is my stylo library, existing library with a bunch of cruft in it, and I would basically call it prototype status, even though the SVG part is quite usable, very useful. I want to start migrating the SVG stuff into its own library that I can bring to a reasonably polished release state and actually put that up on GitHub and make it a library in Clojure. I don't know how to pronounce it, Clojures or Clojures or something like that. Anyway, I want to actually release it properly. So I'm paring down, getting rid of the cruft of this, basically putting this into a library. But as I go, I've got the stylo REPL underneath the org file here, and the new one here, the SVG CLJ library here with the REPL beneath it here. So if I eval this, it goes and evaluates in the appropriate REPL there. So that, just in case someone watching might be really confused as to what's in all of these windows, that is the short of it. So it does in fact look like I can do test, and now I can do def test. I can do is 1, 2 should fail, of course, because 1 is not equal to 2. Perfect. All right, so that's good. The reason I'm doing this into my main here is I kind of want to just put basically all of the functions into a single main namespace, including tests, make sure that all works, and then start picking it apart into sensible namespace differences. Now, maybe that means there aren't even that many namespaces, but I'll probably pull all the tests into their own test namespace. But as I'm developing, it's really nice and convenient to just kind of mush it all into one big namespace. The only downside there is you might want to have the same function name in 2 different namespaces, which obviously you cannot do if you're putting it all in one namespace. But it's just a method until the organization of all the functions are clearer. So I'm not too worried about it because I can always change it. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. So just have a quick, actually, you know what? Engelberg's work is nice, but it's too much for my brain right now. This is a nice size library that I can understand and use as a good reference for approximate setup. So doc is probably where I'll compile this org file into. I think that's probably a good idea. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Not too worried about it at this point though. So here, right? Geometry, model, SCAD, and text. Probably I'll end up with similar kinds of things. But I don't want to guess at the future. So and then the test folder just tests core, apparently, which is fine with me. Yep. Okay. Enough of that yammering. Let's focus in on deps.eden because there's something I will need to change. So these are fine. This here, this is another library, a much more ambitious library that does programmatic CAD 2D 3D stuff entirely, which I want to eliminate this dependency because I want the release of the SVG CLJ to be independent of any other code I have on my machine. I want it to work for everyone, right? So I don't think I should have that as a dependency. Garden is a CSS generation thing I definitely don't need. Ubergraph, I don't even know why I had it. And Instaparse, I have on here for the markdown parsing side of things. So these I definitely don't need. Midge, I think I'm going to forego for the testing purposes of this library, but I'm messing around trying to get better at test-driven development overall. And so I need to kind of wrap my head around a few different tools. That's why it's in this library. I'm going to just stick with the basic Clojure stuff here because that's pretty powerful on its own already. So I'm not too worried about that. Only other concern is I don't know whether or not I should pull Hiccup in as a dependency or if I should pull something like this in, because this one, for example, macchiato hiccups. Hiccups. I don't know. I don't remember where I found this. It might not be the best one to use. Point is, Hiccup, as far as I know, is not a Clojure script library. There's no reason it couldn't be, but the Hiccup library itself, just for whatever reason, is not Clojure script compatible. Unless that's changed now, I'm not sure. I kind of don't know anymore. Well, there's the API docs. Anyway, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave it all Clojure side while I'm developing, and then when I'm ready to make some kind of release and test it as if it were ready for production, then I'll worry about fixing any Hiccup compatibility. I could arguably not include any Hiccup stuff at all, just leave it as a pure utility function that lets the user pick the Hiccup compiler that they want. That's not a bad idea. Have to think about it. Unfortunately, I do have to now restart my REPL to get Hiccup working, but that's, you know what? I think I can spare the minute or two that it's going to take, you know? That's that. Oh, did I? We're good there. I have no aliases set up at the moment, which I'm fine with. I also, paths, I don't think I need to do any, so I'm going to actually just delete those for now. And you know what? While I'm at it, let's just keep this as simple as possible. Boom. Okay. I'm wondering if I should use the alpha or not. I don't know. And then let's add here. Let's see. Require hiccup dot core, right? Refer HTML. I think that's good. And let's restart this then. Sysman. Hopefully that works. I think it'll be good. All right, now let's see if that will load properly. Looks like it does. And now let's just test HTML. Let's compile this paragraph. There we go. We get A little bit of output there, which is nice. Okay. Looks like we're ready to go. Okay, I'm excited about this. Should be fun. Let me think about creating a new repo. DSL for compiling SVG elements with Clojure script. Public, add a git ignore and choose a license. MIT. I think that makes sense, right? What does our good friend Pharrell here use? It's probably Eclipse. Does it exist at all? Oh, there's a license. The EPL. You know, I'm going to go MIT. My gut kind of says that's probably the right call for this. Insta parse GitHub. It's probably EPL as well. Excuse me. Gotta turn off the bots for a minute here. Spamming. Get follow links. Block as well. Okay, that should disappear from chat soon. Okay, derails me every time it happens, but actually while I'm not focused on my code, I'm gonna take a break and go to the washroom for a minute. I will be right back. All right, let's keep going with this project of mine. I'm gonna go with MIT license just because I think it's fine. Then again, maybe I should pay more attention to it. I don't know. MIT. It's fine. Add that. Why can't I create it? Oh, here's why. Clojure. There we go. Now I don't think there should be any issues, but I am gonna do this just to set things up without accidentally sharing anything important. I think it would be fine, but I want to be safe, so. There's no code. Let's see. Clone it. Okay. Let's see if I can figure this out. Almost ready. I'm confused. Oh, I was in the wrong folder. Okay. Huh. Okay, well, let's do .git Okay, let's try this. Okay, it looks like things pushed okay. All right. Yep. Let's see here. Okay, so I've got SVG-CLJ up here. README's ready to go. The license exists. I've got test, source. Doesn't do anything useful yet. Excuse me. Let's do... First of all, does this... Oh, this does format org files in a pretty nice way, actually. Huh, that's kind of cool. Let's actually add just a little bit of info to the README for a minute here. This is a work in progress. SVG. This is currently a work in progress. Until a stable release is provided, this library is considered to be in a prototype state. Use at your own breaking changes are possible until a proper release is achieved. For more information, what's the right thing to do here? If you would like to understand my motivations, decisions, and reasoning for the choices I've made in this library, you can read the org file. How do I link to it properly? In the top level of this repo. What's a proper markdown link? Is it this? I can't remember. svg-clj.org. I have no idea if this is going to work, but we'll see. Quickly, soon enough. Oh, here, let me test it. Here. I think that's right. Can I preview this change, please? There's preview. Leave the page. Well, let's do this then. I don't want to save those changes, so I don't need them. I think that's an acceptable way to do this. I hope it is. Oh, wait a second. Did I have something backwards there? Yeah. Just got to go here. Okay, let's push that. There we go. Cool. Good so far. Okay. All right, things are ready to go. Looks like we're cooking. Let me have a look at how to do this now. Namespace. Not overly helpful. I've already have that open here. Let's close this one. Let's use this. Let's also close this. Keep things clean here if I can. Go back to this. Okay. All right. I think I can make it work. I don't remember why I have read string in here. Oh, it's probably in the path code here. Anyway, let's see here. Forge Proto I cannot or I won't bring in. So read string, I forget that. Does that turn this string into? Yeah, it does. Eval read string. Yeah. I don't know why I have that in there. I hope I don't actually need it. Let's do I forget why. You know what? I'll probably have to rethink that approach a bit. Oh, it's right here. Oh, yeah. So here, all I've got here is the idea that, yeah, I can fix that. I don't think I need read string. Basically, I have string to point. So the string is like this. And then if I do read string A, it reads the first of that. Oh, that's right. I have to do string split a using this. Right, and then I do map v read string over that. And then I get a nice vector of the two things there. So there's a way I can, surely there's a way that I can do do that without the read string dependency. Although it isn't so bad to pull that in. Maybe I will do it. I don't know yet. Let's put a little note to myself here. Possible to do this without read string. Is it even bad to use read string? Only concern I have is just the weird pull in a cljs.reader. You know what? That isn't that big a deal now that I type it out. The only thing I don't like is if that's literally the only spot I use it, it feels excessive. So I'll leave that as a note to myself and figure it out later, because I'm not trying to solve the problems yet. I'm trying to get the library in a semi-workable state and on the GitHub here. I think that's a reasonable thing to do. Okay. This is the container element for SVG diagrams. I'll try to explain that later. Tangle. Let's get this going like this. So the idea with SVG, should specify the language here so that it can actually do things properly in here. All right. Hope everyone is doing well, by the way. Hope you're having a good day. Hope it's a Tuesday now. The holidays are further and further behind us. I hope you're adjusting fine into whatever routines you've got going on, you know? I am attempting to. I love streaming, but it always takes a bit to get my brain back in that mindset, you know? I think I'm doing fine though. So this SVG function, just looking at it, it's basically just a bit of, call it boilerplate to produce the SVG itself directly. What's a good way to write a doc string? Clojure doc string best practices. Style guide. I've seen this before. I haven't memorized it though. Doc string. So both of these are good. This is the style that I tend to use. Although I do, like, this is kind of nice because it reduces the number of lines in the file. So, I don't know. multi-method dispatch. This is something I should be better at. Avoid functions longer than 10 lines of code. I mean, so these are all soft rules, of course, but the general idea makes a lot of sense. Make functions that are shorter if you can. Prefer many small functions as opposed to few large ones. That's a good reason, or that's a good rule. Avoid forward references. I'm pretty sure forward references just refer to this. Declare what. And then use what, the function here, and then you define what later. Like that. I'm pretty sure that's all forward references are referring to. It's nothing too crazy. This is a problem I haven't figured out how to solve yet. Org mode shouldn't be looking for links inside these code blocks. At least I thought it wouldn't, but it does. Try to find org mode link syntax, which is like this. So anytime I have this situation here, there's two brackets. It thinks that whole thing is a link. So if I click it, it tries to find that string, and then it fails because it's not a link to anything. I don't know how to fix that yet. It's really annoying though. There's a reason for this. -1, but I don't remember it, and it seems completely unintuitive, so I probably should take it out. I'm actually just thinking about how I might want to control the viewbox approach here. You know what, I think I'll leave it for the time being though. Let's do this. Anyway, doc string. Doc strings are the primary way to document Clojure code. Many definition forms, def, defin, def macro, namespace, support doc strings, and it's okay. It's usually a good idea to make good use of them, regardless of whether the var in question is something public or private. If a definition form doesn't support doc strings directly, you can supply them via the doc metadata attribute. That's useful. Some of the common conventions and best practices for documenting Clojure code. Okay, I like the sound of that. If a form supports doc strings, prefer them over using the doc metadata. That makes sense. The first line in the docstring is a complete capitalized sentence with which concisely describes the var in question. Okay. That's good. This is bad. Right, so the idea is use line breaks to make the docstring a little easier to read. Document all positional arguments and wrap them with backticks. So like this, right? Where's my backtick? Oh, cool. Indent by 2 spaces. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. This makes sense. This isn't that bad. Or bad. This isn't that hard to follow. I can do it. Place the docstring after the function name. Yep. Good. Test naming. Oh, this will be important for me. Central repository guidelines, group ID and artifact ID. Okay, use a project or org name. Minimize dependencies. That's fair. That makes sense to me. Oh. I'm just gonna have to keep this bookmarked basically, so that I just kind of internalize more of this. Okay, I'm gonna figure that one out a little later as well. I think the way I'm going about it at the moment will be fine. And it won't be too hard to change it as need be. Oh, excuse me. I could also maybe do... Well, yeah, I won't worry about it yet. Okay, so the doc string. The SVG container is parameterized by width W. Oop, it has to be backticks, right? Width W, height H, and scale. I'm gonna leave it at that for the time being. I don't want to. There's a lot of things I'm trying to think through make these. I want to make this a good library, good documentation, all that stuff. But I'm second guessing myself a little bit, and that's maybe slowing me down more than it needs to. So container elements. So the SVG thing, we absolutely need it. There's no way around that, right? It is very simple, or it ends up being simple. I can compile SVG into HTML right away, put empty content in there. It's SVG like you would expect. I should actually... I just realized that I will have to fix this so that it doesn't run if I don't give it these parameters, because this actually compiled and it shouldn't have. That's a bit of a tricky one, actually. Maybe it's not so bad. Finish getting the library in a working state and then start working on figuring that stuff out. Let's put a little... How do I do a to-do again? To-do... No, not to-do mode. Man, I forget. There's a way to put it in nice and easy, nice and quick. No. Oh, there we go. Can I do it without the heading? not in table data field, that's fine. Woo! Why does it go to the end? Oh, I understand. Okay. That is cool. I don't want it. Does it seriously have to be a heading like that? Don't love it. Okay. Getting caught in the weeds in my own head here. That's not helpful. Let's put it in here to do. To do. What I need to do, oh yeah, fix SVG function to properly handle incorrect args, width, height, scale. Example, missing width, height, scale. To do. Next one. Okay. Slow and steady. So the container elements refer to SVG, but then the next one is see, this I don't think I should provide, actually, now that I think about it. I was going to put in, I call them composites here. This is probably beyond the scope of this one. It uses the brep stuff, which I'm not going to use at the moment. Yeah. This is all old anyway. Yeah, containers here. So figure, drawing, you know what? I'm not gonna put those in there. But I'll leave that kind of set up the way it is here. Yes, that's good. Okay, good. Container elements. Any elements that wrap content. Primary function is SVG, which is the container element for all other SVG elements. This should be probably written with these. I suppose that's fine. Okay. Container elements. Sweet. Actually, didn't mean to do that. Let's split this so that I can create the next section. Container elements are done. Now on to design structure. What did I call them? I've got utilities basically, so those are probably important to have soon. These need better names because this is confusing. They're all useful, but the naming convention isn't great. So that is important to fix. So let's do utility. String manipulation. String helpers I like better. string helpers, and miscellaneous and transform string helpers. You know what, actually, let's not do that. We'll kind of put things where they end up being used so that the flow of the document makes sense. And if I need to move it around after, again, I just split out different sections of the code. It isn't a big deal. It's not a big deal at all. Okay. I keep deleting this part though, which I do need. Come on. There. Let's do that way. I always have one available just at the bottom, so I'm not accidentally deleting everything all the time. How about that? Sounds good to me. All right, so let's go to shapes. Okay, so SVG elements are just those things. Defin element if it's one of those. That's pretty good, right? Oh, this was just a silly. This was not actually useful in any way, so I'm pretty sure that is unnecessary for me. That was only like I would run it in the REPL to see if I had defs for all of the elements, because I was losing track in my brain. But that's not actually that's not actually used at all. It was literally a little convenience for myself as I was going. Def SVG elements. The elements provided by SVG CLJ library. Not sure if that's smart to do that, but I will do it. I go to the transforms, I have a way. I use multi-methods for this whole library, and this is how I destructure everything with k, props, and content. A shape is a hiccup data structure that represents one of the available, one of the valid SVG elements. All shape functions will return a vector of the following shape. Tag props values and content. The tag and props will always exist, but content may or may not exist. For most geometric shape elements, there is no content. Elements like text and G do have content. This is hard for me to explain it all, unfortunately. I just need to think about how to write it in an appropriate way with good visual examples and stuff like that, so that the code I wrote actually makes a bit of sense. So right, so this property here is checks the key in a hiccup key in an element, checks the key in an element to see if it is an SVG element. As a general term, I use element to refer to the hiccup vector structure. So, circle radius 2 is an element, as is p some paragraph. The vector 2, 4 is not an element. The term content refers to the inner part of a hiccup data structure that is not the key nor the properties. Oh yeah, the term properties refers to the map in index 1 of a hiccup vector. I also refer to that's good. Yes, it's reasonably good for now. Let's make these stand out just a bit here. What time is that here? Oh man, gotta watch my time a little bit. All right, so that is the element part of this. Let's go build some shapes. I don't know why I have color element here. I think I had a reason for that, and I'll find out again soon enough. Circle, ellipse, line, path, polygon, polyline, rectangle. Oh, right. I need to write a major. Opinionated approach. This is not quite a straight wrapper for SVG functionality. I have altered the default behavior of some functions. For example, a rectangle is drawn centered around the origin by default. This is different. Plain SVG rectangles draw with the first corner located at 0 at the origin by default. All rotations are applied to the local are applied to shapes locally. This means that a square, this means that a, a circle at 10, 0 rotated by 45 degrees will not appear to move using SVG CLJ. The shape itself is being spun around its center point, but that center point is not moving. Default SVG behavior rotates around the origin by default. So any elements offset from the origin will rotate, will move large distances away from their starting positions. This choice was made because it feels more intuitive to draw with local transformation operations in mind. Oh, that's a to-do. Admin to-do. Build a mechanism for changing, rotate, translate behavior from local to global. Probably use dynamic var, whatever those are called. Yeah. So the reason I want to do that is I do want to, if someone uses this and assumes it'll work literally exactly the same way SVG works, that is very confusing if you don't see that. So I need an option to set it so that it does behave exactly as someone might expect if they expect that. Let's see here. As much as possible, all transformations calculations are baked into shape coordinates directly. Shape coordinates and points directly. This means that a rectangle wait a second. This means that a 10 by 20 rectangle that gets translated by 100, 100 will be rendered to SVG as the following string. And then what is that string actually? Let's do in the wrong namespace. Let's give it a shot, huh? Have to load the file first. I think that'll work. Oh, wait a second. I'm in this namespace, so I could just do this. Translate rectangle 1020 hiccup.core/html. Yes. Let's just make a little Clojure example here. Come on, there we go. That turns into this, basically. Ugh, I gotta take a break for a sec. I'll be right back. Yeah, okay, so I think I've got about a half hour left in me here. And then I'm gonna get going, doing some other things. But I'm feeling pretty good about, actually sitting down and trying to start making this proper. It feels pretty good to have that happening. So let's finish up this little output here. Kind of ugly. Also, I should maybe just do this. Yeah, that's fine. For now, that's okay. Then, def A as last thing. If you run this in the REPL, that is. And then you just do HTML A, which then yields don't know why my computer's making noise at me right now. I didn't ask for that. This yields this string. Which is a little hard to read, so I'm gonna... No, I can't. That's fine. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. There's a comment example. Oh, which I should probably to do build a mechanism for changing baking behavior. Example, have translate transform baking behavior. Yeah, I understand what that means. At least I do now. Maybe tomorrow I'll forget what I meant by that, but we'll cross that bridge when the time comes. Okay. Okay, so the shapes mostly exist now. I actually think this is a fine way to do this for this section. You know what? No, that's silly. I want consistency. Consistency is the answer here. Path needs its own little blurb here. Nope, like this. The path element is more complicated, as there is essentially a DSL for creating valid D property strings. The D property is a string with some is a string that defines many different renderable paths using using a tiny instruction set. Works kind of like G code. It's also a little bit like the Turtle language, Turtle syntax, I think. And maybe not. Maybe not what I'm thinking about. Turtle drawing programming. That's good enough. This path function is usable by the user, but provides no path generation assistance. There are several functions defined later that handle path generation. Yeah. Okay, so those are the basics of the shapes. Oh, except, oh no, I do have text and the G tag as well. That's good. Shapes. No, that's not what I mean. Here. Path. There's a bunch of path helpers now that I need to put in here. So, let's go ahead and do it. You know what I am going to do, though, to speed this along just a little bit? I'm going to paste a Reno and start deleting stuff. How's that, huh? What did I just do? Uh-oh. Right. And then transforms, composites. Let's keep composites out of this for the time being. These are not, in fact, transforms anyway. They are calculations, computation. That's kind of okay for now. And those go above transforms. Okay, now all I need to do is make sure this tangles to the right spot. Which is here. right? Let's just double check that. Remove forge dependency. Dependency. Don't know why I had that brain fart. I couldn't spell. Sign of getting a little tired. It's almost time for me to stop. Oops. Oh yeah, arcs don't work yet. Still a lot to clean up, which is okay. That's the way it goes. Path stuff, combine paths. Okay, good. Geom. Points to bounds. Easy enough. Transforms, the big one. So there's a lot of commented out code too, which is kind of nice because if I just double check it once that it's not in use or more like I could just delete them if I'm pretty confident that I don't intend to use those implementations. Half of them are broken. I just didn't delete them. Style, an important one. And color element is probably deprecated. Probably don't need this at all. Probably delete this. Change this to just style. You can just redefine symbols to do. Yeah, okay. Def ASDF nil. Oops. To do create namespace for short form redefs. Example, def tr as svg/translate. That might be a fun little idea just for convenience purposes. It might be a horrible idea. I don't know, but it could be fun. Okay. Let's save this and just double check that I didn't miss a tangle or anything like that. And to do that, I just head into source list. Stylo's still in there accidentally. Vim style element, I forgot to. Huh. Oh, I must have saved. Okay, let's do this. Okay, now if I save this, what? I've confused myself. Let's see. Oh, interface. There's also declare style element cubic Bezier string. Probably here, yes. That looks correct. Let's see if that's everything. Seriously? Vim rotate. What did I just do? I thought I... Oh, geez, silly. Silly of me to not scroll all the way down. How about now? Oops. There we go. Okay. All right, it's all going into the right folder now. That is a good sign. How much time do I really have left? Should get going in probably 10 minutes, I think. That's what I've got. That's what I've got for myself. Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right, what can I get done in 10 minutes here? Shapes is good. Path is now where I need to focus. Okay, so the path shape is up here. And then here's the path function helpers, where I need to do a lot of thinking and refactoring here to make sure things work okay. But actually now, let's do load file and see what breaks. It'll be, I know what it'll be. Let's say path helpers will work probably up until here-ish. f/midpoint is not in this library and I need it to be. So let's forget this and let's pull f midpoint in. Midpoint's probably in here, and it's very simple, right? Midpoint. Let's go. I need a new heading here. I think I do need to just call it utilities, geom. And here I define midpoint, and it takes points, calculates the what's that called? Midpoint of a polygon. There's a, is it the well, that's cool. Not what I want. The center of gravity or something, technically. The midpoint of a segment is considered to be the average of its endpoints. Right, but that's only for a segment. That's just the midpoint of a line. That's pretty straightforward, not a big deal. But I want the midpoint of a group of points. And there's a name for that as well, I think. Centroid. Oops, sorry. The arithmetic mean position of all the points in the figure. So this should be called centroid, not midpoint, right? Informally, yeah, see, this is how I explain it if I'm talking about it. Is it different? Like, is there such a thing as a midpoint for a polygon? Does that even make sense? Or am I using incorrect terms here? Okay, the center of mass is the arithmetic mean of all points weighted by local density. I don't have to worry about that. This is pure geometry, so there's no mass properties at all. Let's see, Control F, midpoint. Okay, the centroid of a triangle. Yeah, centroid. Right. Let's call it centroid. What I used to call midpoint is more accurately called centroid. Midpoint arguably only refers to the middle point of a segment. Anyway, calculates the arithmetic mean position of all the points in given points. Right, that should be okay. And then that is true that this is a fine implementation. Let number of axes be count of first of sort by count all of the points. This guarantees to get me, if I have a list of points that are 3D but there's one of them that's 2D, it just drops the z-axis for all of them. Drop z if any points 2D. Not sure if that's actually a good thing or if that's a bad thing. The other thing to do is fail if fail automatically if any of the points don't match any of the other points in terms of the number of axes. Make centroid only work on sets of points of same dimension. But for now, that at least is kind of okay. It's really not, but I'll leave it at that for the time being. Oh, this is... Okay, there we go. It's getting close to quitting time. Let me finish putting Centroid in, then I'll save it, push to GitHub, and call it a day. This has been a really nice start, and I'm feeling pretty energized to get this library up and running soon. That'll be exciting. It'll be really fun to actually have a properly released library. That I could be proud of that. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I have to actually finish it. It's important. Okay, so that's the number of axes. And dim. And dim makes more sense. Splits. What was I trying to do here? Count first of points. Then the splits is for range of 0 to axes. So 0, 1, 2 if it's 3D. Map. Nth of points. What Boy, I've confused myself with this one a little bit, I must admit. Let's just print splits out to the screen. Oh, I think I got all of the X's, all of the Y's, and all of the Z's, I suppose. Is that what I was trying to do? Yeah, that is what okay. I get it now. So I was collecting all of X, all of Y, and all of Z. There's almost certainly a smarter way to do that now, right? Is it juxt? I forget. Nope. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I could do... Maybe it's as simple as this, is... I'll think about it later. I gotta get going. This works. There's a better way to do it, though. Oop. Is average not... Is av not... Did I define average myself? I guess I did. I gotta work on this, but hey, so be it. There's stuff to improve here. To do make Centroid more readable. Maybe juxt. Okay, that's good enough for me for now. Let's go over here. Git status, git add, git commit, broken, in process of removing forge dependency and cleaning up function naming, doc strings, and code quality. General and code quality generally. Git push. Then I'll just check that that is reflected, and it should be. This org file should have a bunch of stuff in it now. And it does. Oh, what's this? Strange. Okay. That was a really good start for me for this project. I'm happy with that, and I'm going to get going. Thanks anyone who tuned in at all. Thank you. I appreciate that. A nice quiet stream for me, a little less in the chat, and that's okay. You know, no pressure from anyone who ever watches. If you're watching this and you're not live, you're watching a VOD or on the YouTube channel, consider participating in growing this community. You can like, subscribe, comment, follow, any of those sorts of things. You know the drill. That would be really cool. In the meantime, I hope you have a good night and day, and I'll be back streaming on Thursday again. Yeah, that's all I got. Have a good one.